In 1970, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, promulgated a regulation calling for 2 emergency exits from every workplace. Air traffic control towers, ATCTs, having only 1 exit followed the National Fire Protection Association, NFPA, Life Safety Code. In 1980, President Carter signed Executive Order 12196, requiring that federal agencies follow OSHA regulations. In 1982, the FAA developed an alternate standard, Chapter 12, Emergency Egress for ATCTs. In 1996, a committee of FAA, OSHA, and labor representatives was formed to update and streamline that standard. The result includes safety requirements providing employee protection equivalent to General Industries 29 CFR 1910.36.
Good day, agents. This tape will self-destruct in 15 minutes, 12 seconds. Your mission, whether or not you choose to accept it, is to deal with the resulting fire. Our backers, never mind their names, have chosen this training mission to prepare you for other emergencies. They have every confidence in you, since you already keep thousands of people safe every day. Nevertheless, controlling and monitoring air traffic and keeping that equipment online have not trained you for this emergency directly. This tape will instruct you in the basics of fire safety regulations, as described in 29 CFR 1960.20, and leave you fortified for the next emergency, whatever that may be. After all, an emergency can be anything: heavy lightning, hurricanes, tornadoes, flash floods, even a bomb threat. The most likely emergencies are fire, smoke, or toxic gases in the tower shaft. This tape will deal with all 3. You must get everyone clear of the tower without jeopardizing the planes and people under your care. It will challenge your decision-making skills. 29 CFR 1960.20 provides that special procedures be made for towers with 1 exit. It also requires new towers built after the year 2001 with a workforce of 25 or more to have 2 separate exits from the tower, which begin at the base of the cab and extend to the ground level. We're training our agents in special procedures to defend against fires. All federal towers, regardless of size, have adopted these procedures. They include knowledge about structural safety, the exit routes in your building, how to act if fires do occur, and how to prevent them. Today's control tower should come in 3 construction types. Type 1 buildings are made only of approved non-combustibles or limited combustibles. These materials conform to certain NFPA code requirements. Towers that don't qualify as Type 1 are acceptable if they are Type 2. Such buildings must contain structural members that are of approved non-combustible or limited combustible materials that have fire resistance ratings in accordance with NFPA codes. We call the final building type not Type 3, but Type 4. In this type, non-combustibles or limited combustibles make up all inner and outer walls. The building's interior structural member can contain solid or laminated wood without concealed spaces. Those structural members also comply with NFPA provisions and have fire resistance ratings of at least 1 hour. Some towers with less than 10 people in the structure at any time have other requirements. In these towers, cab stairways must be at least 28 inches wide. No buildings can have carpeted walls or ceilings, and all buildings must use approved firewalls, partitions, and fire stops. The building also must feature approved fire detection systems, fire alarms. There must be suitable fire suppression systems which can range from simple fire extinguishers to sprinkler systems. You will receive training in fire extinguisher use and should know where extinguishers are located, as well as when a fire is too large to be controlled without help. Always call for firefighters. While the ATCT where you work will have an exit route to protect you from fire, smoke, or toxic emissions, it is imperative for a quick and orderly exit from the tower. There are two possible alternatives for towers without two means of exit. Alternative A is for towers with a tower occupant load of less than 25 people. Such towers cannot provide living or sleeping quarters. An Alternative A tower may be of any approved construction with an interior of Class A or B finish. These classes refer to NFPA flame spread tests and smoke tests. An Alternative A tower may not contain any combustibles other than office supplies and furniture. This includes any room in the tower structure, not just the cab. Storage and mechanical areas cannot contain any flammables. Paints, solvents, fuels, and other flammables must be stored somewhere outside the tower building itself. The tower may not include any high hazard areas. That means areas used for anything that involves highly combustible, highly flammable, or explosive materials or other hazardous substances. Alternative B is for existing towers that have an occupant load of 25 or more. Alternative B towers are made of protected non-combustible materials. These protected non-combustibles have at least a 1-hour fire rating and are stable under fire conditions. Protected non-combustible material must enclose all vertical shafts and related construction in accordance with NFPA and with at least a 2-hour fire rating. However, fully sprinklered towers may be made of other non-combustibles, that is, materials that don't of themselves burn but are not classified as fire resistant. A smoke-proof exit pathway must extend from the base of the tower cab to a public way or to a point where there are 2 exits. Most smoke-proof exits pump their air pressure to slightly higher levels than the rest of the tower. This pressure pushes the smoke out, but an open door or window in this exit can leak this air pressure. Please keep them closed to make sure the exit stays smoke-proof, because smoke is normally the first condition that is harmful. Also, an emergency exit must be kept clear at all times. It is not an emergency storage area, or even a temporary storage area. No matter what type of building you work in or exit you use, you need what is referred to as an Emergency Operations Contingency Plan. Such a plan includes an Emergency Action Plan and a Fire Prevention Plan. Be sure to look at your site-specific Emergency Action Plan. The plan includes 5 elements. 1. Emergency escape procedures and emergency exit route assignments. 2. Procedures to be followed by employees who remain to operate critical facility operations before they evacuate. 3. Procedures to account for all employees after emergency evacuation has been completed. 4. The preferred means of reporting fires and other emergencies. 5. Names or regular job titles of persons or departments who can be contacted for further information or explanation of duties under the plan. The emergency plan will designate the individual responsible for assessing the situation to determine whether an emergency exists that requires activating appropriate emergency procedures, directing efforts like evacuations, ensuring that outside emergency services such as medical aid and local fire services are called if needed, and directing the shutdown of tower operations when necessary. Should an emergency arise, this person is your mission leader. They may need to delegate jobs to you, and everyone will need you to perform them. These responsibilities regarding evacuation, accountability, check-in, and rescue are clearly outlined in your written plan. The communications portion of the written plan should identify a means of alerting employees to a possible evacuation or to take other actions spelled out elsewhere in the plan. A distinctive, recognizable alarm should be audible or visible to everyone and should have an auxiliary power supply. Everyone will know how to sound the alarm in case of emergency, whether it's a pull box alarm, a public address system, or some other type of alarm system. Each of you must know your evacuation procedures. If you know where to go and how to report your safety, everyone will know when the building is empty. Otherwise, rescuers might re-enter the tower to search for an evacuee, putting themselves at risk. The Emergency Action Plan will specify duties and who is to be responsible for them. The preferred means for reporting fires and other emergencies will be spelled out. You must post maps or plans of emergency escape routes where everyone can see them. Make sure you know your evacuation route before you need it. And you must have easy access to names and titles of people who can provide further information. The Fire Prevention Plan will list all your facility's fire hazards. It will specify the proper handling procedures for flammables, as well as potential sources of ignition and their controls. The Fire Prevention Plan lists all the fire protection equipment in the tower: smoke detectors, sprinklers, and fire extinguishers. Each fire extinguisher displays a rating on the faceplate showing the class of fire it can put out. You should know where to find your fire extinguisher. Know how to use one properly, too. But there are other time bombs in your tower that you need to know about, such as break rooms, electrical appliances, equipment rooms, and storage areas. Fire hazards often lie around unnoticed, threatening your lives and the lives of your coworkers. Good housekeeping can defuse these bombs and prevent many fires. Don't wait for the cleaning crew. Remember, flammables are not limited to paints, solvents, and fuels. Accumulations of trash can combust under some conditions. Ensure that the trash is removed when it's needed. Also, your tower needs to seal some materials to dispose of them safely. When you're unsure how to dispose of a material, check with your supervisor. Make sure everything is in its proper place, and let your supervisor know when there's not enough room. Keep in mind that emergency exits are not emergency storage areas. In fact, once you put something in a stairway, you've invited others to leave clutter there too. When people are in a hurry, this clutter can trip them up. And even if they carefully step around it, doing so costs everyone time. A quick exit is imperative. Clutter can cover fire alarms and emergency exit signs. Don't let it. As important as physical clutter is, most agents also know the dangers of mental clutter, of meeting an emergency with clouded thoughts. To help this problem, supervisors have arranged fire drills, most of them more formal than a self-destruct message. Each of you must take part in at least one drill per year. You'll learn your assigned assembly point and be expected to go there and be counted. What intelligence have you gathered? Well, you know more about structural requirements, special exits, fire detection, and fire suppression, and never to compromise their integrity. Your true mission is to build lines of defense against fires. We need your diligent housekeeping to stop fires before they start. We need you to respond to fires as a unit, with everyone following their general duties and the specific ones assigned them by the supervisor. We need you to report fires, fight them when necessary, and retreat as soon as possible, because preparing for emergencies means expecting the unexpected.